Hey everybody, Gustavo Furman here. Thank you for listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube Into the Flow. In today's episode, I'm interviewing my good friend Sidartha Murjani. He's a director, filmmaker, actor, and storyteller. He makes really cool independent movies, short films. And so I was honored to be in one of his movies called Gratitude, a comedy. It's very inspiring. And he's actually a very good director, because I remember working with him and feeling really comfortable. He let me just be myself in the movie, and we had a great time. So I want to talk to him about what inspires him to do those cool movies, right? So let's talk to Sidartha next. Into the Flow. Hey everybody, welcome to my show Into the Flow. I'm here with Sidartha Murjani, my good friend, amazing filmmaker. I love his movies. I love your movies, man. And I'm so happy to have him here with me in my show today and Into the Flow. We're going to have a fun interview here. And so, first of all, I like your look, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I grew my hair
I love it.
Just for this interview.
Exactly. No, man, I love it, man. You look good.
Thank you.
So
do you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm really excited to interview you because, I know Sidartha as a good friend of mine that we have worked together and doing some movies and TV shows and some projects together. And one of his actually movie that is called Gratitude, which is a great short film.
He was in it. That's why it's so great.
It's a great short film that talks about being grateful in life, and for everything that we have. And it takes place in a restaurant. All happens in a restaurant with a bunch of people in different dates for Valentine's Day. And so this person, which is Sidartha, his character, he is by himself and he's writing in a book all he thinks he's grateful for. So anyways, it's a great short film. And I like how when you work on your films, you have always a message. And it's a very positive, inspiring message. And that's why I'm interviewing you, because Into the Flow means, as you know, everybody, get into your rhythm of your heartbeat, your inner being. What is that your inner being tells you to do, right? How does it guide you into what you're doing? How do you get inspired to do your short films?
Well, for sometimes it's just like, for example, for Gratitude you were talking about, right? That was an incident that actually happened to me when I was in Italy. I was sitting in a restaurant and I was looking around and everyone was like kind of like looking at me weird, because I was sitting by myself, where everyone was kind of sitting with someone else. But the funny thing was, instead of enjoying each other's company, they were kind of judging me for being by myself. And I was just enjoying myself and writing down stuff, So that's where the idea of gratitude emerged from. So sometimes my movies, it emerged from a small moment or small idea, and then I'll try to build it. I'll build it from that idea. And thank you, Gustavo, because Gustavo was one of the main stars in Gratitude. He played Lisandro, a very, very loved character. He was hilarious in it. And yeah, so that's the genesis of usually my storytelling. Is like, it could be an idea, it could be a moment, it could be a theme I'm trying to come across, it could be, and usually what happens is I would write the idea and things will just build up from it.
And so basically there you're following your flow. You just basically, you go with that intuition that takes you to the next step and the next step. So you kind of follow a momentum.
Yeah.
It's like a momentum that you follow, right? With your writing.
Yeah. So you follow momentum. There's always like a conscious writing, where you just write everything that you want to write. Then after that, you give it a structure. You give it a container, and then you give it the character beats. But that initial flow is always intuition, and what makes sense for the character, what makes sense for the story to flow. Because sometimes you cannot just like randomly put scenes here and there, or because like you said, there has to always be a flow.
And how do you became actually a filmmaker? When did you decide you're gonna be a filmmaker? Like how?
Good question.
Like one day you just woke up, oh, I'm gonna be a filmmaker.
No, it didn't happen that way. I started out in acting, and but then I started realizing that the stories that I wanted to be in was not created. So I had to create those stories that I wanted to be in. So I started writing and directing myself to create the stories that I want to create. And from then on, I began enjoying being behind the camera as much as being in front of the camera. And so that's how my journey as a filmmaker started.
Wow. And so I find, amazing and so interesting from everybody that I interview and with you here, it's like, I find it interesting that you're not fearful of showing who you are and what you feel and out there in the audience with people. You're gonna tell a story about this or that or whatever story it is, and what are people gonna think? I hope people like it. I hope you don't think that way. You just basically wanna share a message, and you just go ahead and do it, right?
I mean, if I were to be completely honest,
Be honest.
I mean, people will always judge. People always judge. Even I sometimes look at my work and I feel like, oh, it's lacking here and there technically and stuff. But at the end of the day, if you stop yourself from doing what you want to do because you're afraid of what people think, then you might as well just lock yourself up in a room and don't do anything at all. Right? Because at the end of the day, where do people judge? They judge because they're afraid, they don't understand. But then when you open up and you show your insights or your deeper parts of yourself, usually most people will resonate with that, and then they will start opening up as well, and then a synergy will happen, like a flow will happen.
That's what I love. You say synergy, and also the flow. Like I'm always following that. Like when you get the goosebumps about doing something, you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Like that. I have a lot of moments in my life where I'm like, you kind of think about it. Like this podcast is started that way for me, and I'm like, I feel so like excited about it. And the next day I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do it because I don't have this, I don't have that. Oh, people are gonna say this. But then the next minute I'm like, no, I'm excited about it still.
Yeah.
So you gotta continue with a little excitement that keeps going in your heart and you're inside yourself, right?
Yeah, you gotta ask yourself, why are you doing this, right? So I think the reason why you do this is because you kind of want to spread the message of people to listen to their intuition, people to listen to their instincts, right? Which is, I think, a really good message. And knowing you personally, I know that you have that in you. But sometimes we have our days where we live in our heads, we have our to-do list, we're scared, we feel like we're not good enough. That happens, we're human. But there's a saying that I read somewhere, not all your thoughts are true, right? Because if you get attached to your thoughts and you believe all your thoughts are true, and even the bad thoughts are true, which is not the case.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you follow, I follow Abraham Hicks, one of my teachers, and it's like one of my guides, and I think you follow them too, right? Abraham Hicks.
I listen to her a lot as well. I also listen to other teachers as well.
Who else you listen to?
Joe Dispenza,
Yeah,
Sadhguru, Alan Watts, Wayne Dyer, who else? Yeah, quite a few. Eckhart Tolle. I like these kind of discussions because I think they talk about what actually matters in life, and life, if you think about it from like a material standpoint, it's just about getting money, paying bills. It's not really magical. There's nothing there.
Not really.
But then if you think about there's something beyond, there's this energy, and there's joy connecting with people, that is magical.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to focus on.
Wow. So your main message through your films is maybe connecting to that energy of people, right? You think?
I think a good story can really change the psyche of a human being. For example, with gratitude. why your character was so loved was because of how endearing your character was. You brought laughter to people. The fact that people laughed, it lowers their inhibitions. They're more receptive to whatever's being told to them. See, when people are tense, when people are stressed, they're close. But when people are laughing, you know, they're like, oh yeah, they're more relaxed. More, you know? So there's a way, there's a craft to it, to write a story, make people laugh, but then eventually, you know, what are you trying to say with the story? Gratitude, be grateful for what you have. But to lead up to that, you have to have these characters, like Lisandro, played by Gustavo Ferman.
So, wow, so then, of course, in stories, there's always the highs and the lows, right? And so you think, I mean, a lot of people get really uncomfortable when the story is all about good stuff. I notice people gravitate to watch TV shows and movies where there's killing and there's blood and there's drama, mystery. But what do you think of that idea of like maybe sending a really positive message? We all have struggles, and then we'll, you know, have obstacles. But how do you feel about, do you really need to put something dark in the movie so people go see it, or can you actually just tell a good story about good stuff, like inspiring stuff?
I think we also have to base things on reality, right? The reality is people's lives are not rainbows and sunshine every day. People go through struggles, people have hard relationships, bills to pay, you know. So if we just create stories about positivity, that's great, but it won't be relatable. And if your story is not relatable, then who's going to watch it, right? So we can do a couple of things. One is through the characters. Every character has to have a flaw, but the flaw also has to be relatable, like real, you know? So from those aspects, you know, you want to make sure your story is universal and relatable. And then you can see that even though the character is has a lot of bad things happening for them, they still choose. Because being good is a choice. Being happy is a choice. Being kind is a choice. Being compassionate is a choice. Bad things happen to everyone. It's storytelling one-on-one, right? What's the difference between the hero and the villain? They both go through struggles, but the villain chooses that their struggles define them. So the villain say, all these bad things happen to me, so I'm going to treat the world badly because I've been treated badly. And logically, this person's right. What does the hero do? All things bad happen to me, but I'm going to choose to make sure that it doesn't happen to anyone else. That's the hero's journey, and that's the villain's journey. So it's a choice. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty. Actually, I love that.
Yeah.
That's actually makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And so you base a lot of your short films with that idea of it. People relate to like struggles for sure, but then it's how you say it, how do you react to something, and how do you use the power that we have to do something good, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something else too that I really love about your movies and in a short film. You don't have much time to tell a story because it's 15 minutes or something, right? Yeah. So how do you translate that whole thing you just talked about in 15 minutes? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not all my stories going to be like that, but for example, made another film called The Interview. You really enjoyed it also. And The Interview it's a simple story about a guy going for a job interview, but instead of being interviewed about the job, he's being interviewed by his higher self about what makes him happy, you know? So it's this guy going for a job because he's depressed, he has a lot of bad things going on for him, but his higher self is kind of pointing out, well, you've done a lot of good things as well, and you have a choice, you know? Yes, you have a lot of these bad things, and you can either quit, or you can decide to focus on the good things that are happening in your life, which is applicable to every single human being. There's a lot of bad things happening for everyone, but there's also a lot of good things happening for you, right? You might think that the house you live in is not big enough. You might think that, you know, your partner is not good enough, but to some people, they don't even have a house. They don't have a loved one, you know, so it's appreciating what you have.
Yeah, I love that movie that you did. The film is awesome. That's the first one I watched from Siddhartha, was the interview. How can people watch your movies, like the interview and gratitude and stuff? We need to tell people how to watch those.
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube, but you can follow me on Instagram, S1DARTHA. I'm following this gentleman right here, and you can see all the links on my bio for sure.
Oh, so you gotta watch those movies, and you know I want to keep talking a little longer because you were saying about the choice, right? And what I like again about yourself, the way you are, and you're just as a human being, and your movies, they go together. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not just like a cool guy, nice guy, and then your movies are about killing. You know, your movies represent who you are. They come back hand in hand. Because I know I met directors and people out there that I actually was in a movie where it was, I'm not going to mention anything about it too much, but it was about killing and cutting heads off. And I was in that movie as a bodyguard, and I'm thinking,
you make a good bodyguard.
Yeah, right. And so it was like, so I'm thinking about this because I remember going to the premiere of the movie I was in, and I was embarrassed to be in this movie at the end because there was so much killing, you know, in blood and heads cut off, and people, every time something would happen, a guy would get his head cut off, people in the audience will scream, yeah, and I'm like, I was laughing because it was just, I couldn't believe it, you know. And when I did your movie, it was a totally different like atmosphere. It was like they were very tender moments, and they were funny moments, and like real moments with like real stuff going on with human beings. You know what I mean? So and you said there's a choice, right? And we have a choice of choosing the good thoughts that's gonna propel us to something good, better, or the bad ones. You know that's so. Abraham Hicks says. A thought or a belief is a thought that you keep thinking. So what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, if you think about it, where do your thoughts come from? So thoughts come from your life experience, what people have told you, and any new ideas that you instill in your head. That's why what you watch, what you talk about, what you listen to is very important. It's like the food that you consume. If you consume junk, then your body is going to feel junk. If you fill your head with a lot of negative thoughts, then that's how you will perceive the world, you know? So I agree with you in that. So that's why you also have to be careful in what you feed your brain. You were saying that a thought is a habit. A thought is something, it's a habit that you just keep thinking over. Absolutely. If you keep thinking that the world's out there to cheat you, even if you meet someone that's not going to cheat you, you will keep looking for things in that person that they're trying to cheat you because your thought is already programmed that way. See what I mean? If I do not trust you, no matter what you do, you might give me $1 million. You might like, here's $1 million, I don't want anything. But because I have that thought, I'm like, this guy's up to something. Even though you do like, you have nothing, you know? So our mind is kind of programmed in such a way, in my opinion, for survival, which makes sense, right? If you're hungry, what do you might tell you? Go eat. If you're tired, go sleep, you know? It tells you to be wary of people and stuff like that, survival instincts. But eventually what we want to do is understand that our mind is a tool and not let our mind control us, but let us control our mind for what we want.
Well, that's well said, man. You should be more of a spiritual guy than in a filmmaker, spiritual guy. So then I guess back to your films, the way you think, the way you are, you just transmit that into your films and your directing. When I was working with Siddhartha, his directing was really calm, really like the space was really fun to work with. You know, we just let us actors do what we thought was good for the scene, and that's nice, you know, because then that's another thing I like about you is like you know how to get a cast together.
Yeah.
How do you go about that? You still follow your flow about that, your energy, right? When you get a cast together.
Yeah, I think you have to understand that for people to feel safe, they need to feel seen and respected. When people feel safe, they feel seen, respected, they are free to express themselves. When they're free to express themselves, that's where authentic emotions, everything come out. Then they're more open to things, you know, when they trust you. So me as a director, that's my job first of all, is to make my actors trust me. Trust me that I got their backs, that I want the best for them, they want them for the story. Then let's go with using what the actors have. Like, I cannot expect an actor who cannot do a certain thing for me to push them to that level. I have to understand where the actor is and use what they can bring and allow them to that space, that creative space for them to bring that. Yeah.
That's so cool that you and I guess, you know, the way you are too lets people be calm and safe.
Yeah.
Like also your personality, because I was thinking this industry of the film industry, and it's very good. It's about the ego. Really, 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 it's about the ego. A lot of times, actors, it's all about the ego, the picture, you know what I mean. They want to be a star, and you know what I mean. Yeah. And I think that you don't work. How much do you really work with your human ego, and how much do you work with your actual inner being, intuition? You work with both.
I'm not gonna lie. I also have an ego.
Everybody does. Yeah. Everybody does. But how do you manage that ego?
I think, for me, I listen to my gut a lot. And,
there you go.
You know, intuition, as you say. But I've been in situations where, when but my ego got the better of me. But immediately the universe teaches me a lesson. It's like instant karma. It's like the moment I get into my head and think I'm like big shot or whatever, or I think I have this power or whatever, the universe will
hammer you down.
Will slap you in the face. And it has happened to me a few times. And if you don't learn your lesson, then it will just keep happening and happening and happening again. So this is why a lot of people sometimes are in the same pattern, because they're not learning, they're not evolving. But if you listen to your gut, then things will flow. Intuition, synergy, a lot of things will flow. Yeah.
That's perfect, because that's the name of my show. Like, you just follow your intuition, follow the flow.
The flow.
And it just works. And you just follow you go with the river where it takes you.
It's like him salsa dancing.
This guy's a good dancer too.
I'm okay, he's better.
But you know, I've seen you dance, you're good, man.
Thank you. I learned from you.
So wow, so I'm loving this interview. So you know, before we finish here, and we already mentioned how you I'm gonna ask you again about where to find you on the internet and stuff like that. But what next projects you're working on for coming up?
Well, that's a very good question, my friend. So one project we are working on, me and Gustavo Ferman is working on, is called Hay Tiempo, which means there's time in Spanish, which is loosely based on my friend here's life story. It's about how no matter how old you are, you can always follow your dreams. And in this particular story, the protagonist's dream is dancing, salsa dancing. So that's something we're working on right now.
Yeah. So that's I know we're excited about that project. It's gonna be fun.
Hay Tiempo.
Hay Tiempo.
And he's gonna be the star.
No ego there. Humble ego.
Humble ego.
So that's it, and so that's the one coming up. And you have another one. Anything else you're working on? You want to talk about?
Yeah. So I recently had 2 films premiered at the Vancouver Asian Film Festival. One was, it's funny you're talking about bloods and all that. One was a sci-fi thriller, and it's because I wrote and directed, it has that, you know, good feel message, but it's based on a game of chess between this girl who lost her father, and her father left her a humanoid AI to take care of her. But the only way she can unlock the message that her father left her, she has to beat this AI in a game of chess.
Oh wow.
And another one which I only acted in, I didn't write or direct, it's actually a horror noir. So
horror noir? Yeah. What's the horror noir?
It's actually written by a Mexican director. Mexican. Yeah, it's about I play a psychiatrist who gets called from a cop, and one of my patients has a knife on his son's throat. I have to de-escalate the situation. So it's called Imposter.
Wow, so you need to use your mind for that.
Yeah.
Wow, so you're doing good, man. You that cool projects coming up. Yeah. So yeah, watch some of his Sidartha's films. They're awesome.
Thank you.
And follow him online on Instagram. So what's your Instagram again, and what's your...
My IG Instagram is S1DARTHA. I follow this gentleman right here, so you can still find me. Whoever's watching, thank you for your time.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for
Thank
this
you.
time, man.
Muchas gracias.
Stay into the flow all the time, man.
The flow.
Right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Keep watching, keep listening into the flow.
Listen to him in the flow. And he's here, right here.
Good, man.